in.
You're good to go. Thanks.
Good. All right, we'll call the Thursday, March 14th work session to order. John, you want to read the?
Sure. Our mission statement: educating each student to the highest standards while motivating them to reach their full potential and graduating them to be college, career, and life ready. Vision: our schools are a place where children belong. Each student is known by name, strength, and need, and provided the education and the opportunities to achieve success. Our values are striving for equity, inclusion, and belonging, celebrating diversity, engaging the community, supporting the whole child, promoting and achieving academic excellence.
Thank you.
Welcome.
We'll start out with the review and potentially updates to the board operating protocol. Everybody get a chance to go through those? Anyone got any changes or questions or comments? Okay with it just like it is? Anything?
No, it's good.
Okay, we'll move on to the review of the attendance.
Cindy, will you have separate the people?
Cindy, will you, everyone is okay with the current board superintendent operating?
So we'll put it on the agenda for the March 21st meeting.
Yeah, but are you gonna send it out for DocuSign before that, or do you want them to approve?
If you guys approve it at the meeting, then I'll sign. I can either, you can do wet signatures at the meeting, or we can do DocuSign, whichever way you want.
I remember, I did have a question about it.
Yeah.
Did we ask our student representatives to approve it and agree? And whenever I have a question like that, I think, okay, Dan, our intention of having the student representatives is so we can hear from the students, but also they can learn the process of serving on a board, and it's part of the process. So,
Does everyone?
wait, isn't there on the email?
Are they privy to executive session?
No.
No, they're not.
So then. So that section wouldn't apply to them?
No. Well, it's really.
That'd be my only comment.
Do it as a separate one.
Yeah.
What's the question?
I mean, you could have a separate
Separate one and just
one
hold
for
that out.
students and fill out the parts that aren't comfortable with the students.
Yeah.
That's fine too.
Or you could just note, except for student representatives.
Yeah.
On the same.
Yeah, it's gonna be a recurring deal.
Because I don't think the students would be involved in the evaluation.
No.
Right. Secretary Sean.
A self-
Yeah.
assessment.
Comprehensive evaluation.
Involved in the board evaluation.
So it's self-assessment of their role on the board.
Yeah, there's language in there about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so we can just update this one with instead of having two separate ones, since it's gonna be an ongoing thing.
How would you update it then?
So it would just have a note that that doesn't include them,
Oh.
certain parts,
There's some part,
Yeah.
okay.
the ones that they're not.
Mhm.
Everyone's okay with that? Okay. So we'll move on to the review of the superintendent annual evaluation process and what to expect.
So I just summarized real quick, kind of like in a packet. really the stuff from here, along with including like just our policies and whatnot. So if we look at purpose of the superintendent evaluation, it's to provide feedback for continuous growth and improvement, to fulfill the requirement of board policy, fulfill the requirement of the superintendent's contract, to celebrate and highlight the accomplishments of the district led by the superintendent, to get direction and help to prioritize the work of the district for the next year, and to assist the superintendent in prioritizing their work. The documents that should drive the evaluation would be the language outlined in the contract, board policy, superintendent state or national standards. In this case, we use the state standards for Oregon superintendents, which are included in this book. The job description, which is included in the board policy, and then district goals and superintendent goals. And all of these items come together and are referenced in the OSBA COSA Superintendent Eval Workbook. From the contract, it says the board shall evaluate the performance of the superintendent at least once each year by April 30th, or as soon thereafter as practicable during the term of this contract. This evaluation shall be based on the goals and objectives agreed upon by the board and the superintendent in the terms of the contract. In the event that the board determines that the performance of the superintendent is unsatisfactory in any respect, it shall describe in writing the unsatisfactory performance, including A, facts and or evidence to support the unsatisfactory rating, and B, recommendations for improvement. And the board shall provide a reasonable opportunity for the superintendent to correct the unsatisfactory performance. The next page just references our policy, which is board policy CBG. So it's just there, so you have it. And then the next page lists so there's 8 standards for the superintendent's evaluation. Standard 1 is visionary district leadership. Standard 2 is ethics and professional norms. Standard 3 is inclusive district culture. Standard 4, culturally responsive instructional leadership and improvement. Standard 5, communication and community relations. Standard 6, effective organizational management. Standard 7, effective financial management. And Standard 8, policy, governance, and advocacy. And in the workbook, you can see each standard is defined, has definitions of kind of what does that standard mean? What would that look like? What might you see happening under that standard? And then goals. Yeah.
As we go through this, you should be looking through that workbook as far as. what
Yeah,
standards
so
are.
for example, here's standard 1, visionary
Okay.
leadership, and it tells you, and there's even like a rubric that you can use to help you.
Okay.
So like you can look at, well, what would it look like if the superintendent was ineffective, or if they're developing, they're effective, and or.
In our workbook, it looks like this,
Yeah.
and we have like a, sorry, I didn't know.
Oh, that's okay. No, go ahead.
I'm mad at her.
No worries.
When, Cindy, did you get the spreadsheet I sent to you? I used those last year. There's a link that you can click on it that has that information. People are like, okay, what does that look like? You can click on that and then it will pop up a description of what the artifacts would look like or the events of that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, and then the other goals down below are going to be the additional goals that I presented back in the fall, and then that I gave a mid-year update. And when I complete my self-evaluation, I will update that mid-year document with additional artifacts and evidence of.
That's very good.
Sorry. And then the superintendent job description, that's under policy CBA and CBA-AR. And then just some notes, critical for superintendents to know the performance expectations of the boards that employ them. By working with their board, superintendents can encourage the joint development of a job description that is an accurate general description of the superintendent's role, and that can serve as a basis upon which the superintendent's evaluation can be built. The job description should be rationally connected to the specific duties and responsibilities contained within the superintendent's performance evaluation. And performance standards and indicators should behaviorally define the superintendent's job description. So you can also reference policy CBA and CBAR because there's a description, a pretty lengthy description of superintendent's job. And then the last page is really just like timeline. If you look at this whole process kind of as a year at a glance, so identifying goals. So those are the 3 goals that I identified in the fall. Typically, hopefully no later than 10/1. This year it was a little later. 2 is to fine tune process, determine standards to be used, and determine if there will be solicitation of any other input, and that's recommended to happen before October 1st. Mid-year or more often report on goals and standards progress to the board, and that typically happens in January. So then self-evaluation. So I will send you my self-evaluation, probably within a week, you'll be getting my self-evaluation. And then, you all will complete your individual, evaluations. You'll receive, a document from Cindy where you can go in and start to fill in your individual, evaluations of the superintendent. And then once all of those are received, chair and vice chair will work collaboratively to compile all of the information into one document and report. And then we will meet in executive session to review the performance. And then following that, a written summary of the superintendent's evaluation is provided to the superintendent and placed in the superintendent's file. So in terms of timeline, I will be getting myself eval to you within the next week, and then would ask that you all work on yours during the week of March 25th and April 1st. That way on the 11th, in addition, we will break up. We have the board work session that night already scheduled. We will add an executive session to go over my evaluation. And then at the April 25th board meeting, the chair can finalize it by reading the statement of the superintendent's evaluation. Any questions just about process and what all it entails? So she's not newer people. Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty straightforward. As I said, I'll send you my information within the week and include my evidence with it for each standard and just how I rate myself, and then you'll have that. Any questions like about timeline or proposed timeline? What?
Down the road. So we get all through this and you, it's presented at the board meeting. Then what's the fallout after that from the community?
Smart.
Well, I'm guessing that there will be some negative comments being made about your performance as we, tell them how your evaluation is. So what happens then? Do we is that become a complaint? Do we go this whole thing again?
No.
The complaint process?
Once the evaluation done is done, if they want to complain, they can file a complaint.
Right, that's what I
It's
meant.
just back to normal.
Okay, good.
The good thing about the evaluation process is that there's very this whole years you've been reporting to us. Things you're doing under those specific performance domains and goals. So they can complain about whatever they want to complain about, unless they're like, that artifact is false and was made up, then you don't have a basis for the evaluation to enter.
Yeah, but so I'm just saying we'll get the same kickback that we normally do. Okay, that's as long as we dig our feet in.
And realistically, it has nothing to do with the public, right? I mean, this I'd be surprised. I mean, since I've been on the board, I don't think there's ever been
No.
Any criticism from a community member, now probably just jinxed it, but like, once an evaluation is done.
Okay, good.
Now, folks are, as you've seen throughout the year, right? Everything is very subjective because it's all, their own perception and, their own experience,
Yeah.
right? That goes into whatever is at issue for them. That probably won't continue, right? Because people are going to be very adamant about
Right.
what's right for their kiddo, and that's all different based on the thing.
No, I know. I'm just thinking
So,
all the extra work again that has to go in to be proven. Oh, you see what I'm saying? That's all I'm just, are we, is this just gonna be an ongoing tidal wave every time?
And what happens in the chair will bring together everybody's comments.
Yes.
And so hopefully there's a list of helpful feedback or specific rationale, and then there's a number, and then the average is the number, and that
Right.
becomes our board
Right,
position.
right.
But the statement that's read just is very general.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a challenge.
And
Okay.
basically,
Yeah.
just very simply.
it's an executive summary.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
It synthesizes all the collective information from all 7 of us. They actually inclusive of the superintendent's own self-evaluation. And then it produces just, here's the overall kind of year in review and how we're tracking against standards and goals that we have all agreed to.
Okay.
The only other thing to remember is just as you're doing the ratings with the numbers, is not to use, whole numbers.
Yeah.
Use
No, I saw that.
quarters or
All that.
just straight numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4.
They add all that up.
Don't do like 1.5.
Do we round up or do we round
Yeah.
down?
3.141.
The whole policy.
They X through it and send it back to
Not appropriate on this form.
That's right.
Yeah.
See, the reason for that, Joel, or just talking about on page 7 of the handbook, because it describes like a 4 means accomplished, a 3 means effective. So if you get like a 3.5 said effectively accomplished, it's not a.
Absolutely.
Almost.
Right.
Fingers.
Not have anything else.
that is.
That's the process.
Okay, so we'll see our forms week or so.
I forgot all about that.
Is that a question?
And now, executive session.
The time we've taken to go through it.
Where are we gonna go?
So that's on the. It can be here, it can be at, we have the commons reserved just as a backup, especially like if we were doing something with the larger team, so we would have more space.
We don't have it. The work session workout yet, anyway, right?
For the 11th, no, not yet. So,
We have ideas.
yeah, we have a couple things that we're working on. But I don't think it's gonna be a larger, it's not gonna be a larger group.
Okay.
Be all of us.
Just for the hair.
You want to have the April 11th work session. Something.
We think about doing board self-evaluation because we'll just finish superintendent, and you might as well, since we're in the zone.
At this.
At the next, at the next work session.
Hmm.
Yeah, you can do your self
Oh, the
evaluation.
board
The board
session.
self evaluation.
Okay.
Walk through that.
Anything else?
Yeah. Good work.
Okay, we'll adjourn this meeting.
Thank you.